Hi there. Welcome to the welcome portion of our show. Welcome to the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. Today's topic is going to be kind of a New Year oriented one, but you can listen to it anytime. If it's not the New Year when you're listening to this, it still is pertinent because what we're going to be talking about is how do you set goals and then how do you achieve those goals? We're going to combine information from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and the 4 quadrant stuff, which we've talked about before in a previous episode, but also we're going to talk about how you combine that with something else from another previous episode about the E.A.S.E method to put them together to create not only, goals that you really want to achieve, but goals that become habitual. So you make a whole new life for yourself. I saw a thing recently that said, if you don't form new habits, you're not going to have a new year. It'll just be another year. So let's make this one a new one. You are listening to the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast, a show devoted to uncovering the systems and the secrets that set the best apart, where you learn how to take your coaching clients to the next level, while you grow the coaching practice of your dreams. So sit back and relax, or sit up and get excited. Either way, you might want to pay attention. This could be important. So, Happy New Year, and I really hope that this year is wonderful for you. I hope that the aims of this show to help you understand the systems and secrets that set the best apart to create the coaching practice of your dreams. Hope that really happens for you. And I don't actually know if you are a coach or hoping to be a coach or whatever reason you're listening to this for, but I really do hope that this is useful for you. I found what we're going to be talking about today to be incredibly useful for me personally, but I also teach it and emphasize it with every one of my coaching clients. So before we get going, I do want to say one thing is that I would love it if you listen to this program and enjoy listening, that you subscribe to it, and also go visit our website at essentialcoachingskills.com and get on our mailing list. I send out a newsletter every week that is actually really pretty good. It's got good stuff in it. It's got coaching stories and sleight of mouth tips and various other things each week. I put a lot of effort into it. It's well written and it's good stuff. And then occasionally I also let people know about programs that are coming up. As an example, I have a program coming up just starting next week at the time of this recording, at least, about basically the principles we're going to be talking about today. The E.A.S.E method, the E.A.S.E technique, the E.A.S.E model for creating new habits, and also the Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. How do you find out what those goals are that you want to achieve in the new year or whenever it is that you decide to take your life into your own hands? I've listened to a lot of podcasts over the past year, and I recognize that a lot of people do a lot of advertising on their podcasts. And when I was listening to it, seemed like a lot, a lot of advertising. I'm sure good stuff, well-meaning, whatever, and yet I don't do any. I don't have a sponsor, so please, if you are enjoying this at all, subscribe and get onto the mailing list. You'll be glad you did. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe at any time. Essentialcoachingskills.com. We've got lots of really good programs, hypnosis programs, NLP programs, sleight of mouth programs, havening programs, lots of different things that are there that you can take advantage of. Meanwhile, let's get on to today's topic. So today we're going to be combining some of the things we've learned from Stephen Covey over the years. And in previous episodes, you look at, it's all about time management, I think was the title of a previous episode where we talked about the 4 quadrants of Stephen Covey and showed a couple videos that, public access on YouTube from Stephen Covey. Great things. I couldn't recommend them highly enough. They're fantastic. And you can find them on YouTube. Just look them up. Or, I think it's episode 52 or something like that. It's all about time is the title for that podcast in our history here. I'm also going to be talking about the E.A.S.E process, which I've covered a few times in a couple, maybe 3 different podcast episodes. I am beginning to write now that 3rd book of mine, which is all about E.A.S.E. It is pre-existing as a ebook, which you can, I think, download, frankly, at essentialcoachingskills.com or one of my websites, maybe ericksonian.com or one of them. I think you can download it. At any rate, it's short right now. It's only 18 pages long. It's called A Step Up to Mastery with E.A.S.E. E.A.S.E is an acronym. E.A.S.E stands for Easy, Acceptable, Stretch, and Extraordinary. These are 4 levels of achievement that you want to do something every day, striving for the extraordinary, but accepting lesser levels as long as you're doing something to move yourself in the direction that you want to go. Thereby creating habits, creating a new identity for yourself. That's the idea behind E.A.S.E. But we're going to look at today, how do we combine those two? How do we find out from Stephen Covey's work, what our goals are? We might even be able to refine them a little bit with work from NLP, the 4 well-formedness conditions of a well-formed outcome. Could be useful too, but I'm not sure I'm going to spend that much more time on the subject than we need to today. Maybe for a future podcast, we'll look at that. But certainly today we will look at Stephen Covey's work and also how to combine that with the E.A.S.E process so that you can really create this new year into a new year, not just another year. So with no further ado, I'm going to be using high-tech visual aids here. I'm going to be using a whiteboard. If I was doing this on Zoom, they have a Zoom board you can do this on. This is one thing I don't think they have here at StreamYard. I love this platform, StreamYard, because you can do cool things, but I'm not able to do what I want to do. Forget it. Maybe somebody knows how to do it. I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to use a whiteboard instead so I can just give you some illustrations. In a podcast, a couple of months ago, when I did the second or third one, the most recent one about E.A.S.E, I had illustrations, and that was great because I had a pre-prepared PowerPoint presentation I put up on this thing. So we're not going to do that. We're going to just do this. So Stephen Covey, you remember Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was his first book. Extraordinary book. Really great. If you haven't read it, read it or get it on audio tape or whatever. But familiarize yourself with Stephen Covey's. It's outstanding. It's maybe the best ever. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. His second book, or at least the second one that I read, I'm not sure, frankly, how many books he wrote altogether, but the second book of consequence, I believe, in his oeuvre is called First Things First, which we also talked about in the last episode, where they put the big rocks in the jar first things first. Very important concept as well. And frankly, when you think about it, shouldn't he have written that book first? I mean, why was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People his first book if First Things First was... Anyway, I digress. So in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about the 4 quadrants, which is very easily illustrated like this. 4 quadrants of activity. You have important activities, and you have activities that are not important. Right? If important things like work or quality time with your children or quality time with your spouse, whatever. Important things that are not important, like watching soap operas or whatever. Not important things. So important and not important. And then you also have things that are urgent, and you have things that are not urgent. Right? So quadrant 1 are things that are both important and urgent. Quadrant 2 are things that are important, but they're not urgent. Quadrant 3 are things that are urgent, but they're not important. And quadrant 4 are things that are neither important nor urgent. So quadrant 1, of course, an example might be that you're working away at work and suddenly the phone rings and it's the school calling and your kid has fallen off the swing set and cracked his head open and being rushed to the hospital and go like, I'll be there. And you just drop everything. You don't even put your shoes on. You just jump in the car and go, it's urgent. It's important. You do it. A lot of energy, a lot of energy in this quadrant. Some people get kind of addicted to that feeling of, I have to do it now. Quadrant 2 activities are things that are important, but they're not urgent, like going to the gym every day or flossing your teeth every day. They're very important for your health, but they're not urgent. Nobody's going to, call you out. It's like, hey, why aren't you flossing? Quadrant 3 are things that are urgent, but they're not important. So maybe you're working away at work and then the phone rings and you think, oh, maybe it's the kid at school, but it's not. It's somebody who's trying to, tell you that your life, your car insurance is about to expire and you better sign up quick. And then there's things that are not important and not urgent, quadrant 4 activities, which are things like watching soap operas or whatever on TV. They're not important. It's not urgent. You really shouldn't do it. And according to Stephen Covey, of course, that's true. You really shouldn't do those things. The 7 habits of highly effective people do not include quadrant 4. There ain't no quadrant 4 in highly effective people. In fact, there's not much of quadrant 3 either. If it's not important, we don't try to focus on it very much. And we try to make it so that things that are in quadrant 2, we do often enough that we minimize quadrant 1. Quadrant 1 will never go away. Those things will happen. Those emergency phone calls will come in. We'll need to do them. There will be plenty of times where quadrant 1 happens. Deadlines, things that become urgent. So we have some things in quadrant 1, but predominantly our week, our day, our life will be made up of quadrant 2. Right? We do quadrant 2 things most of the time. Things that are important.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
I have this. Oh, dear. I must have said something that sounded like Siri. Serious? Did I say Siri? I said serious. Okay. So never mind. Not important, not urgent. But it got my attention, didn't it? Hey, thank you. That's an excellent example. Don't go. No, I'm not talking to you. Jesus Christ. Anyway, seriously, we stick to the quadrant 2 activities as much as possible. That's really important information. And as a coach, you obviously should know that. You probably do that. You probably do that all the time with your coaching clients or for your own business and stuff. It's pretty obvious. Now, where do we get those from? Where do we figure out what those activities are? And what Stephen Covey suggests is that what you do at some point in your day, and being that it's New Year's, it's a really good time to do this, is to go through your roles in life. Who are you? Who are you in your roles? Like you might be a father or a mother. You might be a son or a daughter. You might be a there are different roles that you have in life. You might be a actor. You might be a football player. You might be a lawyer. You might be a doctor. You might be any number of things. Who are you? And within each of those roles that you delineate, what are some goals that you would have to make those things better? How can you be a better doctor? How can you be a better lawyer? How can you be a better football player? How can you be a better actor? How can you be a better spouse? How can you be a better father or mother? How can you be better at these things? And then once you figure out how to become better, figure out the activities that you would do on a regular basis in order to create betterment in those areas. So the idea behind Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is that once you delineated what those goals are within the roles of who you are, then you actually put them into your diary, put them into your calendar, put them into your schedule, whatever language you speak, you put it into your schedule. Again, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but Stephen Covey's idea is that you literally put them in. So here's a illustration of the type of thing you might do. You might take your weekly calendar and put your activities into the calendar by the week. Stephen Covey, of course, you probably know this, worked together with Franklin Planners, created Franklin Covey planners. So you can get a whole system of these things, massive amounts of paper in the old days, probably largely computerized these days. I haven't done it in a while since it was massive amounts of paper and thick books that I carried around with me, calendars that I carried around with me in my backpack, the streets of New York, going to the office on the subway. You know, big things. This is a lot easier, much easier a week for me. But, you figure out what works for you. You figure out what works for you. Everybody's different. This works for me. To take it and actually put it in. So the things that are new in my calendar are in red because they stand out, something I need to be paying attention to, remembering to do. So they put them in. If you get something that you want to do that make a particular role better, you put it into your calendar. And at the time that the appointment comes to, go to the gym or, floss your teeth or whatever, if you put it in the calendar, you say, oh, it's 5 o'clock. It's time to do that thing. And what Covey always used to say is you exercise integrity in the moment of choice. So when the 5 o'clock appointment comes up, you do it. It's just like if you had a impacted wisdom tooth and you call the dentist in a great deal of pain, it's an emergency. And he says, well, I can see you Tuesday at 5. You'll be there. You'll be at the dentist's office Tuesday at 5. It's important. It's urgent, right? It's quadrant 1. So you do it. You do it just as much. If it's in your calendar, you say you're going to do it Tuesday at 5. I will floss my teeth. You do it. That's what he's talking about. So you put these things in your calendar and then you do them. Right? So that's Covey's sort of take on how to set some goals that are for not just I want to lose weight or whatever, but it's different roles in your life, and how to make each one of those roles, a little bit better, raise your game in each of those roles across the board. And this is how you go about doing it. Now, excuse me. Water. One of my goals this year is to drink more water. It's good for you. So the E.A.S.E idea, the E.A.S.E process is, as well, like I said, it's in previous episodes. Forgive me if you know this already. And hopefully you'll still be persuaded to buy my book when it comes out eventually. But here we go again. It's to say, yes, I want to do something, and it's going to be extraordinary. I want to do this extraordinary level of accomplishment. I want to leap from having done nothing at all to doing the extraordinary, make this huge leap and do the extraordinary. But if I can't do the extraordinary, I will accept something that is, for me, a bit of a stretch right now. Because I'm starting from nothing would be a stretch for me to do anything at all. But maybe, short of that extraordinary accomplishment, I have a stretch goal that's going to be great for me. Short of that, there's something I could do that would be acceptable. It's not a stretch, it's not extraordinary, but it is acceptable. And short of that, if I can't do any of those things, I will do something that is at least something. I'll do an easy level. But all of these lead to the development of a habit. The point is, as Aristotle once said, at least he's quoted as saying, that we are what we repeatedly do. Success, then, is not an action, but a habit. We are what we repeatedly do. We create new habits by doing something every day. I've said this a dozen times before. It might be 21 days in a row. Maxwell Maltz said that back, who knows when. A lot of people believe that to be true. 21 days in a row becomes a habit. Other people say it's 36, 48. Studies have shown it's more than that. But it is certainly true that the more you do something, the more it gets ingrained in you as a habit. And at a certain point, whether it's 36 or 136 times in a row every day, you do something, your brain goes, this is who I am, right? You shift your identity, say, this is who I am. I am a runner. I am a marathoner, or whatever it is. It shifts your identity. And that's what we want to have happen. We want to shift our identity from being the couch potato to being an athlete, right? To be a wannabe, to being a writer, to being a, this, to being a that. We want to shift our patterns. We are patterned animals. We do things by habit, by pattern all the time, all the time. So we want to create positive habits, and this is how you do it, by doing something every day. So you take the role and you figure out what your goals are within each role, and then you take those goals and you say, what is something that I could do to make that better? Then you say, okay, now, is there a habit that I can establish by doing something every day? Even if it's a little bit, we do something every day so I get it in my body, get it into my bones. This is who I am. This is what I do without even thinking about it. Not even thinking about it. Just do it. Right? So we want to have, getting ready to go out for a run just to be as automatic as what a fireman does. Right? Think about this. When a fireman is sleeping in the fire hall, house, wherever they sleep, and then the alarm goes off, and there's a fire, and they say, "Oh, let's go!" They jump out of bed. Their boots are right there. They jump into the boots. They jump into the pants. They jump into their coat. They jump into their hat. They slide down the pole. They get on the truck and they go. Right? Nobody's ever going like, "Hey, have anybody seen my boots? My boots are on it. Bobby, did you see my boots? They're right here." No, it's a boom, 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 boom. We want to be like that. We want to have our habits organized in such a way that we don't think about them. We don't have to decide whether we're going to do this today or not. It's a question of, do I have time to do the extraordinary? I was once running. I was at a Tony Robbins event. I think it was this particular one was in La Jolla, California. Exotic for me, not that exotic for Tony, whose offices were like down the road there. But it was a full either NLP or NAC certification course. Tony shifted from NLP to, which is neuro linguistic programming, shifted to NAC, so neuro associative conditioning. Along the way, he wanted to distance himself from the NLP world a little bit, so he made up a new acronym. But it was a certification course in whatever it was that he was certifying in at the time. And Stu Middleman, who's a famous, at least in some worlds, a famous ultra marathoner. He had the world record for the ultra marathon. You probably know this, but an ultra marathon is anything beyond a marathon. A marathon is 26 miles, right? Ultra marathons usually start, the first ultra marathon beyond a marathon is the 50K, which is 31 miles, but they have lots further than that. And Stu had the world record for the 1,000-mile run, 1,000-mile race. He had the world record for a 1,000-mile race. Held it for a long time. He ran it at a pace that was faster than, frankly, any of my marathons were. I've run enough marathons over the years, fast enough that I qualified for Boston, but none of my individual marathons were as fast as he ran for 11 days. 11 days. He basically ran like 3 marathons a day for 11 days. Faster than I did. So yeah, he's pretty good. So I was going out for a run, and I saw Stu coming back from a run. And I said, "Hey, Stu, how's it going?" He said, "Oh, good." I said, "You just coming back for a run?" It's like, "Yeah, of course he was, but it's kind of how the conversation went, And he said, "Yeah, I'm coming back from a run." And I said, "How far did you go?" And he said, "Oh, 20 miles." I said, 20 miles? You did 20 miles today? Why'd you do 20 miles? I thought he was going to say that he had a marathon coming up or a competition coming up or whatever, because that's the only time I ever ran 20 miles is if I had a marathon coming up. So I said, "So why'd you run 20 miles? And he said, "Well, that's all the time I had for it today. It's all the time I had. Couldn't run further. I would have run further if I had more time." Yeah. So, it becomes a habit. We don't settle for the easy. We strive for the extraordinary, but we, settle for the bits in between. Just as an example, today I went to the gym. True story. I go to the gym every day, unless I don't. If I don't go to the gym, I do something else like run around the area. I'll do something. I'll do something exercising every day, and usually it's going to the gym. And I went to the gym today and I did a full workout. I would say on my easy, acceptable stretch continuum, extraordinary continuum, it was on the between acceptable and stretch. I think it was probably a stretch. I didn't do any aerobics today. I didn't run in addition to it, so maybe it's just acceptable. But I did a full workout and mat work where I do stretching and ab stuff as well. So it was about an hour 15 at the gym. And yeah, it was good. I liked doing that. Felt really good. So that was a plus marker. Yesterday, I got to the gym and I had a bunch of things I had to do, so I didn't really have time to do a full workout. So I got into a rowing machine and I rowed for 10 minutes, and then I left. Not very good, but I did it. So that's my easy level. I've had clients where I've said, listen, your easy level, show up at the gym. I don't care what you do when you get there. You can say hi to the front desk person and turn around and go right back out again. But show up at the gym. That's your easy level. And they did that. It's really hard for a person once they get into the door of a building to turn around and walk back out again. But some people did. But usually they'll go into the gym and do at least the next level up. They've gotten to the gym, that's level 1. They'll go to that acceptable level. They'll do 10 minutes on the elliptical or something like that, right? So we want to do these kinds of things. We want to find out what our roles are, what our goals are within each role, and then find out what kind of activities can we do to create habits, to create lasting change, how to create honest, lasting change, create new habits that will last us a lifetime. So how do we set our levels? Our levels. How do we know what our extraordinary, what our acceptable stretch levels are, and what our easy level is going to be? And so that's where I'm going to go next in our discussion. And then that'll be it for today. Okay. So, excuse me. This podcast is brought to you by water. Water. It's good for you. Drink it every day. Yeah, we don't have commercials. Sign up or whatever. Yeah, so how do you find out the levels? So what I like to do, the major way I like to do it is I like to think, okay, I'm going to do something every day. Maybe it's playing the piano. Maybe it's a piano student I have, and I'm going to say, listen, you should practice an hour a day. Whatever it is, think about what it is that you want to do. Think about what it is that you want to do, and then think to yourself, what is a level that, just pie in the sky. If I was just able to, wave a magic wand, say, boom, it's going to happen. That if I did this every day at this level, I would be in great shape. I would be fine. If I did cold calling every day for, 100 cold calls, man, I would be on fire. My business would take off. My insurance would be like crazy. I'd be selling, policies after policy. I'd be great. 100 cold calls a day, boom, I'm there. So you think about what is that thing I want to do every day, and what level do I want to do it at, right? And that will be your stretch goal. So of these 3 goals, that goal is your stretch goal. That says if you did it every day, life would be wonderful. Stretch goal. And then you say, what would be something that it's almost embarrassingly easy, but I could do it. I could write 1 sentence in a book. I could make 1 phone call or 5 cold calls. I could do 5. I could do 5 phone calls, in an 8-hour workday, I could do 5. Some easy level that you could say, well, yeah, for sure, I could do that. So you find your stretch goal, you find the easy goal, and then you find something that's in between. Your acceptable level is what's in between those 2, right? So if it's 100 calls a day is your stretch, 5 calls a day is easy. Well, that's what's in between that, 50, 35, 40, you decide. And then the extraordinary level is kind of an interesting level, because a lot of times people think that's what the ultimate goal should be. But the ultimate goal should be something that you can do every day, right? So make sure that you don't over promise or over hope on the stretch level. You want to save that for the extraordinary. Extraordinary should be like that, I don't know, shining object on the hill, that really pretty extraordinary thing. Like Stu Middleman running 20 miles a day was nothing for Stu Middleman. It would have been big for me, right? 20. If I'd said, "Hey, Stu, you want to go for a run?" I said, "Yeah, let's go." And he would just kept going and kept going and kept going. And suddenly I'm 10 miles away from where we started off. And the only way to get back is the same way we came. And by the time we were done, like 4 hours later, we'd run 20 miles. I'd be spent, that's way beyond what I could do on a normal basis. For him, it was normal. It really was. It was normal. He spent his days running. He was a running trainer, and the way he did it is he would go for a run with people after people after people all day long. I don't know how many miles a day he ran, but a lot. So what's extraordinary? That would be something that you'd say, wow, that would be really extraordinary. It can't be the 20-mile thing, however. In my case, like if you use me as an example, 20 miles would be way too much. For this cold caller guy, if the stretch is his stretch for him, extraordinary should be something that's just a bit beyond that, like 125 cold calls, right? So that person would have to really push. They could do it. It's not crazy. They could do it. And if they did do it, they'd feel great and they'd get even better results. Wow, 125 calls. Awesome, right? So it's something that's within the realm of possibility, but it's extraordinary. And it's frankly not sustainable usually for most people to do it every day. But you could do it Thursday. You could do it that day. I did 125. But two things happen. When that's there and you've done it a few times, it makes the stretch goal seem easier, right? The 100 a day seems easier if you've done 125, right? But it is also within the realm of possibility. So it's kind of like the old proverbial carrot before the horse. The carrot before the horse idea is that the carrot is dangling just out of reach of that horse. So the horse goes, "Oh, I want that. I can taste it. I can almost taste it. I can smell it. I want it. I want it. It's right there. I want it." And so it's moving towards it because it's there, and it keeps going a little further away, right? Because it's dangling out in front of him with a pole. So it can never reach it, but it keeps reaching for it because it's within the grasp. If that pole was like a mile-long pole and that carrot was dangling a mile away, of course wouldn't see it, smell it, whatever. It would not be an incentive. 20 miles a day for me would not be incentive. I couldn't do that. Stu Middleman can. I can't. But something that's, 10 miles, like, well, that'd be amazing. All right, let's do it. Right? I could do it. And I wouldn't die from it. I wouldn't be so sore I couldn't run the next day. I'm talking back in the days when I ran marathons. I'm not talking about right now, for the record. I don't run that far anymore. But back in the day when I did. But 100 cold calls, 125 calls, you know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm saying, and I'll do 1,000 cold calls tomorrow. No, you're not going to do it. 125 could be something, so it draws you towards it. But we want to set these goals. Now, the other thing is about having not just a daily goal, but also having a weekly ease. This is something I don't think I mentioned in the other episodes that mentioned the E.A.S.E process. So a daily goal, but also a weekly goal. So as an example, going back to my running example, if I didn't actually do my running example, let's go back to the cold calling example. So if the stretch goals are 100 a day, that's 700 a week. If we did stretch every day, that's 700 a week, right? So I could say my real goal for a week, actually, let's give ourselves a break. It's a 5-day work week, right? 5-day work week. 500. That's a nice number. 500 calls a week, cold calls a week is my stretch goal, right? So if an acceptable let's say it was 50 a day, right? So that's 250 calls for the week. That's my acceptable goal. My ease goal would be 25. 5 a day times 5. And extraordinary be, let's say, 750. Maybe my math is wrong, but something like that. Maybe it's 725 or 625. But at any rate, you get the idea. We not only have a daily goal, but we also have a weekly goal, which means you can make up for lost time. So if on most days of the week I'm doing 500, and then one day life happens, some maybe quadrant 1 things happen, the call comes from the school and the kid fell, maybe I don't get to work even that day. Maybe I only do 5 because I said I would, right? So I'm behind. Maybe the next day I show up, I do 700, do 125, right? I do that extraordinary goal that next day. So my weekly goals can average out based on, doing different levels every day, right? So this is flexible. It has flexibility built into it. Some days you might do 5, some days you might do 25, some days you might do 100, some days you might do 125, some days you might do 150. Maybe you'll set new goals, right? And that's the thing. Once these really get ingrained into you as habits, then you can raise the levels, right? So instead of 100 a day as a stretch, maybe 125 is your new ordinary. It's a stretch, but you can do it easily, 125 a day. And extraordinary maybe moves it to 150, right? The acceptable maybe moves to 75. The easy maybe moves to 25, right? So we adjust as we go. We have the flexibility built into it. So it's the daily, the weekly, and the flexibility that I want to emphasize today. But ultimately, we're in charge of our lives. You're in charge of your life. Jim Rohn said, you run the day or the day runs you. So I like to do these things, on a weekly basis. I get up over the proverbial tree line and look at my week, and I set these goals for the week. Again, Stephen Covey concept. If you haven't watched that episode about Stephen Covey, it's called, like I said before, it's all about time. It's a great episode. And the other one about E.A.S.E gets into a lot more detail, a lot more depth about the setting the E.A.S.E. But today's, I think, is really important because I hadn't mentioned the weekly as well as the daily E.A.S.E goals. That's a really important distinction. And also, I haven't never mentioned before the idea of looking at your life as you are a different person in different roles that you have in life. What are those different roles? Delineate those different roles. Figure out what your goals are within each role. And then figure out how to put that into your calendar so you create new habits on a daily basis. So you want to make a brand new year by making brand new habits. So one little commercial, I'm going to be teaching a whole course. It's not even a course. It's a 90-day, call it a challenge, 90-day coaching experience. I don't know a great title for it, but it's a 90-day where we do this together. I'll have once a week, we'll have a live call and we do stuff, but every day you'll be getting messages from me. You'll set these goals and you'll do it. You'll have accountability buddies. This is going to be a great little program. So go to Essential Coaching Skills. Oh, actually, wait. No, it's not there. Don't go there. You can go there to get into the thing. Yeah, but just do this. Go to ericksonian.com. 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 Go to ericksonian.com and trainings. And then there you'll find this way of signing up for this, make yourself a new person with ease. It's called Achieve Vital Health Now. Why wait? And it's a fun little course. So I hope that you'll join me for that. And if not, at least join me on the newsletters and that sort of thing. Subscribe. I really appreciate it. Really more than you can imagine. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here. This has been the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure seeing you again. Hope to see you again real soon. Come back next week when we have another gripping and exciting episode of the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. And if you want to, you can find out more about us, each and every one of us, at essentialcoachingskills.com. Thanks.